Welcome to Mac Break Studio. I'm your host, Brian Gary. Once again, we've got Mark Spencer in the house. And you may have seen it on television shows, the cameras. It's like the camera operators just come off of a boat and the camera's kind of moving like this. Well, they've taken that and they moved that same kind of aesthetic into motion graphics, but then it gets amped, like really amped. The camera's moving all over the place. And today, again, in our series of how do they do that, Mark Spencer's going to show us how you can emulate that type of camera movement inside of motion.
Exactly. And we've seen this before. We've played a little bit here on this program with parameter behaviors to make the camera like shaky cam, where it's constantly kind of jittering as it's moving around.
Caffeinated cam.
Yeah, but I call this more of a bouncy cam because it moves smoothly from one place to another, but when it arrives, it kind of does this little bouncy action. And this is what I mean. I've seen this on a bunch of commercials and spots now where right now I just have some jiggly text, but then the camera kind of goes to some spot and you get a little bit of kind of bounce back and forth a little bit.
It's on rubber bands almost.
Yeah, it's kind of like it's on little rubber bands as it moves. And I saw this and I thought, that's a great thing that you could do in motion with some simulation behaviors.
Right.
Right? So I just want to show you how you can set something like this up. So let's go over to my little starting project here. And when you look at this, you can't see the whole project. So it's a little hard to know where to send the camera to or anything. If I hit F5 to open the project pane, you can see this has had a background. And this just has a bunch of little kind of grunge graphics that have different blend modes applied to create the background. And then there's there's a food group and a music group. Those are the things that we're going to fly to. And the title that we're on right here. And you can see the title right here has a little wriggle on it to give that little shaking that we see the title doing. And
you've covered that in your motion fast forward tutorials where you build these different sets.
Right.
And you fly the camera to the sets.
Right. Now, what I want to do is just to be able to see the whole thing without changing the position of the camera at all. Well, one thing I could do, I purposely set this up so the camera is at 0, 0, 0. If I go to F1, actually I lied, it's a little bit off here. So I don't want to mess with the position of the camera to look around. And rather than go one of these 3D views with a compass, what I'm going to do is just hold Command Spacebar down and back way out, and then hold Shift V for view, and that lets me see everything in the project. Right. Okay, so you can see I've got these other sets set up outside of the viewable area of the canvas, and those are the things I want to fly to. The cool thing about this technique is once you've set it up, you can change where those groups are, and the camera will still fly there. And you might think, oh, it's the framing behavior. I've seen this before. I know what you're doing. No, you don't. This is a little bit different here. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a spring behavior to have the camera kind of be attached to these other sets that are away from where the camera is right now. Like there's a spring connected between them.
It's going to yank them in.
Yep. Okay. So with the camera selected, I'll go Add Behavior. I'll go down to Simulations and choose Spring. Now, I want this to happen over about 1 second, but the tricky thing here is you don't necessarily trim this to 1 second. The amount you trim it to really, you have to experiment to figure it out.
You got to massage this one.
Yeah, you kind of got to tweak it and work it out. So I'm going to make it about 2 seconds right now and set a play range afterwards. And then let's go back and look at things full size. So Shift Z, and I'm also going to hit Shift V to get rid of the extra extraneous stuff. And now, if I bring up the heads up display, F7, we can see that it asked for what am I going to be attracted to? On the camera, what am I going to be attracted to? Well, I want you to be attracted to this music group. So I'm just going to drag that in here. And now if I play back, we start out and slowly, 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 okay, not very interesting, right? It's not even moving. So I'm going to crank up that spring tension. And now it kind of flows, but it goes totally crazy, right? Yeah. And you might think, oh, I'll play with the relaxed strength. I'm actually going to take the relaxed length down to 0, and it still doesn't do anything quite what we want. The trick here is, in addition to the spring, we're going to use a drag to kind of have it slow down. Because right now it's going friction. Yeah, right now it's going kind of nuts. So I'll go to, again, to Simulations, and I'll add a drag onto this. And I'm going to stop playback for a minute because I'm going to select the spring, hit Shift O to move the playhead or shift the playhead to its out point. Then I'm going to select the drag and press O to trim it. So it's it's exactly as long actually. And then I'm going to crank the drag up to something like maybe, I can only go up to 5 in the heads up display, but I'll go to the inspector and maybe make it about 7. And that way I'll get a more natural, well, I don't know if it's natural, but we actually get the thing to settle down on where we're going to. Let's let it play there one more time. And it pulls over there. It's still going a little too far. Let me drop the spring tension back to something more like 70. See what that looks like. And the fun thing about this is you're playing back in real time. You're watching this thing unfold.
Right.
And you can see right now we're exposing a little bit of part of my background. This is where this gets interactive because you don't know how far things are going to go. But you can just find that particular background here. I'm just going to make that a little bigger. Doesn't matter if it's over 100% for a background, if it's a little bit soft. Okay, so that's the basic idea is now that that camera is using a spring to fly over there and the drag to slow it down so it settles. And the reason you get this kind of parallax shift between the different objects here is
they're all layers in Z-space.
They're spread out in 3D space. If we go to a perspective view here, and then I'll select the music group and press F just to fit that to the window. Maybe turn it a little bit. You can see those guys are all spread out in 3D space.
Oh, yeah.
And that's the other part that makes this look pretty dynamic is as you shift across it, you get that nice parallax shift.
Yes.
Okay.
And that sells it.
That sells it. So Control A back to the active camera. And that's the basic idea. Then to have it do it again, all you need to do is select both those guys, Command D to duplicate them, and then they're still both selected, so I'll just drag them down the timeline, set a new play range out point. And one final little trick here is I want now to go to something else. Rather than bring up the heads-up display, I'm going to take this food group and drag it right onto this spring copy. Okay,
so
rather than
it assumes that it's going into the well and that's
yeah.
Okay.
Anytime there's a well, you can actually drag right onto that behavior or that mask. You don't have to go to the well. So now if we play that back, first we go over to good music and it settles. I'm getting a low frame playback right now. I probably need to clear my RAM cache because I was able to play this full speed before, but then we go over and we land on good food.
Very cool.
Okay, so easy way to create an interesting kind of animation that would take a lot of work with keyframes.
Yeah.
And the framing behavior really won't get you there because the framing behavior is going to take you right there. But with the spring, you get this kind of neat little bouncy action.
So especially if you're going to spend all the time, splicing up your layers and setting them out in Z-space, why not actually add the extra little love to it to get the sell it? You also have, in addition to the camera techniques you're showing us here, you've got a new product out.
I do. I should mention that all these images here are from iStock Photo because we have a good relationship with iStock Photo, and that's where I just pulled all these together. But I have my Motion 4 Fast Forward training, which takes you through all the basics, and then if you're well grounded in motion, Mastering Motion's camera is the next level training that goes deep into exactly what it says, Mastering Motion's camera.
Because that's really what it takes to get a lot out of motion is being able to harness those cameras and really selling your motion graphics by moving through them.
The cool thing is once you're grounded in motion, all the behaviors and keyframes you've already dealt with, you can put them on cameras. That's the really neat thing about it.
Very cool. Mark Spencer, thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you all for watching MacBreak Studio. I'm your host, Brian Gary.